here in the State House with Senator Greg Reed. It's nice to have you. And I just wanted to, at first I'd like to ask a little bit of background. You were one of the newer guys. You were here last year and this year. Tell us about your background.
Well, first off, it's a privilege to be with you, and I thank you for the opportunity to talk. My background, I grew up in Walker County, and I represent Senate District 5, which covers portions of Walker, Winston, Tuscaloosa, and Jefferson counties. So, very diverse district, a lot of great people, and I never run for public office until this past year and was elected in November of 2010 to the Alabama Senate. And in the Senate, I function in several different areas of leadership, specific related to health care and a lot of topics associated with health care. That's been my background. I've worked on the commercial side in the healthcare industry for 21 years, selling different kinds of diagnostic imaging products to hospitals and physicians. So I understand a little bit about the background of the healthcare delivery network and kind of what's involved, and so that hopefully gives me a little bit of insight in looking at some of these healthcare related issues and topics. The Health Committee in the Alabama Senate deals with any issue that is associated with legislation that is related to health. So I know that some of the things that went on in our committee meeting yesterday were of interest to you, and I certainly think of interest to the people of the state of Alabama related to some of the health topics, in particular sanctity of life issues and the abortion topic, of which is always a hot issue.
All right, and you've got a bill on that's getting a lot of buzz. Tell us about the bill.
Well, the bill basically says that we are, as Alabamians, making the decision to opt out of the Affordable Health Care Act, better known as Obamacare, in regard to federal funding for abortions. And my whole attitude related to this topic is, number one, I am pro-life, as strong and as solid as anybody, and I have a lot of great colleagues here in the Alabama State House, both Republican and Democrat, that are solidly focused on sanctity of life issues, and we want that to be a push for what we're doing in the Alabama legislature. It was last session, it will be this session. I think we're even more organized this session with some of the topics that are going to be important. What we saw was one bill passed out of the session last year. We hope that there are going to be several this year. This bill that I'm offering was offered last year. We got it through the Senate, and it was headed through the House. We just ran out of time. I think it's an issue that people agree with. I think it resonates with a lot of Alabamians that are focused on pro-life topics. It just basically says we don't want the federal government telling us that we're going to have to use federal funds to fund abortions in our state. And I say we're not going to do that, and so that is basically what the law says.
What do you think will happen if it passes?
Well, it will. I'm confident that Governor Bentley will sign the law. I think it will basically go into effect, giving a statement to the federal government that we are not going to be dictated to in the area of health care. If there's ways that we can help control the destiny of our state and of its citizens by making our own decisions and our own choices as the state of Alabama, then that's what we're going to do. I feel like that the governor will sign the bill, and I believe it will be law in Alabama, and that abortions, even though legal, will not be paid for with resources coming from the Affordable Health Care Act.
Has this law been passed in other states?
There has been a push for this law in other states, and there have been some other opt-out legislation in other states related to either abortions or related to other issues associated with sanctity of life topics. The bills have been a little different in other states. I think that last year there were a total of 21, 22 different states that had this same kind of legislation. I can't tell you exactly how many of those passed. I know it was a hot topic, along with other issues that we're going to see in the Alabama legislature this session related to abortion and pro-life areas.
Do you think if it passes and the governor signs it, there would be a lawsuit?
I hope not. That's always a fear that you have with some of these type issues, but what we have seen over time in the analysis that's been done by some of those that are giving me some legal aid and advice on this topic is that this issue is pretty straightforward. If the people of the state of Alabama in our representative government say we refuse those funds from the federal government to dictate abortions and to fund abortions, then we can do that. That is a right of the state. And so I hope that there won't be. If there is, we'll deal with it and fight through the best way we can.
And what are you hearing from your constituents and others who are watching this legislation come about earlier this year, perhaps with a higher prospect of passing? What are you hearing just in general?
Well, I think that the drumbeat continues on that we need to protect the unborn child. We need to be focused on standing up for what is right. We want to have protection for women as well and be able to focus on issues that I think are going to be coming this session related to making sure that if an abortion clinic is operating, that they fall under the same regulatory requirements as any women's clinic in our state. I mean, those are the kinds of issues that we're talking about as well. And I think that as we continue to hear from citizens across the state, their interest is stand strong, look for innovative ways to be able to reduce the number of abortions that happen in our state, and that's my commitment.
Some detractors might say that we should be focused solely on economic issues, smaller government, less debt, those kinds of things, jobs, that this kind of a social issue, Bill, is a distraction. What do you say to them?
Well, I would say that when you're looking to protect the life of an unborn child, and you deem that as a distraction, then maybe there's something wrong with the way you evaluate priorities. I think that every issue that is important to the people in my district should be important to me. Jobs, you have heard over and again, is the number one focus of the Alabama legislature for this session. And there's a lot of great legislation coming. I'm going to be working on that and voting on that just like I am other issues. But just as is the case with our work life, our business life, our spiritual life, we need to always be focused on making sure there's a proper and an appropriate balance. And I think issues that are related to these topics, like pro-life issues, can coexist with economic issues, regulatory reduction issues, different topics that would be priorities for us related to education and other topics. I think all those things can coexist in the Alabama legislature. We need to be focused on all of them.
And really, one might argue that in some ways this is an economic issue if they're asking for us to pay for all of this, which is ultimately where this goes. I am curious what this bill means to you personally, where it falls in your priority list, because I know that every senator has sort of in his own mind, you know, this is my primary focus, this is my secondary focus. Is this a priority piece of legislation for you, Senator?
Well, it is a priority for me, you know, for a couple of reasons. Number one, because of my strong feelings and my faith and related to how important it is to protect the unborn child. Also is as the chairman of the health committee, you know, a lot of the issues that are my priorities are those that find themselves in my committee. And so I think that that's important, and we see that just for some of my other colleagues that focus on issues that are in their committees as being priorities for them. So I think that twofold, this is a priority for me. Number one, it's because of my own personal feelings about sanctity of life topics, but also it's as the health chair, I need to be focused on these issues as they move along in different categories related to health. I'm also focused on topics in education. I'm focused on topics related to job growth and economic development. So I have several priorities, and I think back to the question you asked earlier, I try to have an appropriate balance with those different issues that are important to the people in my district. But as far as a priority, is this one? Yes.
So, Senator Reed, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us about this, and best of luck with your bill.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity to visit with you. You continue to work hard in informing folks and your listeners about what we're doing, and we'll continue to work hard here in the State House to try and make the lives of Alabamians better as we struggle to deal with the issues that are at hand. So thank you for the opportunity today.
My pleasure. Thanks so much.